Hello, and welcome to the Communities Connected podcast. I'm your host and the CEO of Allisant. I'm April Lamont. I'm joined again by Danette Beal, our VP of Marketing, who's put together a very special episode. Let's talk more about what you have in mind for us today, Danette.
Yes. Thank you, April. And thank you for having me on again. This is a really special podcast for us because we've had a lot of momentum in 2025. We actually had 21 different guests on in 2025 talking to a range of different professionals from lifestyle experts to land developers to placemakers. We've even had, a few research analysts on to talk about different studies and what's actually going on within master plan communities and land development within the US. And so this one, we thought it could be a really fun one to go back to some of the experts that we spoke to and to talk about some of those themes that they were bringing out. So, one of the big themes that has really come to light is how people are creating those places that people want to live and visit, and how you take a piece of land from, with nothing on it and create something that people actually want to go to every single day and that elicits the emotions that they want to continue to visit that space. So we've got 4 exceptional podcast guests on with just a clip or two talking about, what they do on a daily basis and how they're able to create these experiences inside their own communities. The first one we're going to go to is episode 46 with Kevin Kelley. Now, Kevin is a behavioral architect. He is the author of Irreplaceable: How to Create Extraordinary Places That People Bring Together. And what I love about this clip, April, is that, everything that Kevin does is how you can elicit emotions from the people around you. And so he is really into looking at consumer behavior and what types of emotions people have. And he calls it the black bag. So in this specific clip, he, talks about how you can demonstrate with placemaking and lifestyle programming, how you can emote or change those emotions that people feel. And he's got actual tactics around how you can elicit those positive emotions and then avoid those negative emotions. So I think this is one that everybody can learn from.
For sure. And if you haven't already, pick up Irreplaceable. It's a fantastic book, and there are a lot of moments in retail that are shown as examples through the book that I found really powerful to draw upon around making great, resident experiences in communities. So let's listen to them.
We have a lot of insights that really help community developers. And one of them is really thinking about what is the customer bringing to the store with them or bringing to the development with them. And we jokingly call this a black bag. And the black bag is full of stresses, anxieties, hopes, dreams, fears, and aspirations. And they drag that black bag around them, whether they're going to community development or a Harley Davidson store or going to a Whole Foods. They're constantly thinking about what's happening in my life, and does anything I'm seeing in front of me relate to it? Is it, going back to this idea, is it helping me or hurting me? The problem in most developments is the idea of the sales center. And so the first thing we do in every organization is ban the word sales. We just get rid of it on all levels. Don't put it on a card, don't put it in a building, and don't call the building a sales center, because that instantly ignites anxiety. It does very similar to what happens to going to a car dealership. Most people just can't stand and they dread it. But it's the same at a furniture store. There's many other entities that do the same thing. So we try to get out of that mindset and then try to divide the intention of the customer. So if they're coming to a place and they go, I want to get in and out as quickly as I can and I'm not happy, our job is to really go, what does it take to create scenes that get them laughing or having a good time and breaking down that experience. So we spent a lot of time starting with that. That welcoming center, which is certainly a term that's used, is exciting. But what we find is most powerful is if they can see other people like them, really social proof of a place working well. And they go, I can pull that off.
This next clip that we're going to go to is actually episode 53. And this was revisiting Newfield, which we've been to before, with our friend over at the OnPlace Collective, Monaca Onstad. She is the founder of OnPlace. And in this clip, it's what I really love about this one is she's applying the concepts that we just heard from Kevin and talking about it in relation to Newfield. So how they're building their lifestyle programming and what are the real events that they're putting in place that people love to go to. Another important part of this one is the early relationship building that she was able to do, her team and her were able to do at Newfield that has created the experience specifically around the Harvest House that they have today.
It's a vibrant community because there's public spaces as
Yeah.
well, right? For people to come out to. So the lifestyle team there is doing an amazing job bringing things forward. We have Farm Jam, which is so cool, right? It's a backdrop of a barn, right? Green space. And so that happens once a month. We've got so many programs out there. I mean, one of the proudest I think I am is it's called an owl prowl. So it's a nighttime walk looking for owls, an owl prowl. I'm a little Southern. But I think that one of the biggest things is that they've really taken what the land has given them, put a plan on it, and they are executing that plan. So it's not easy to execute a community of that nature where, there's miles and miles of trails, preserve area. There is a farm, will be 170 acres at some point. They have a merchant store, they have a harvest house where we opened in, I wanna say November of last year, the Harvest House.
Yeah, we launched the app.
You know, you guys launched the app with us for that, and you're doing all of the sales and stuff for us there through the app. That launched, and it's pretty amazing how far it's come, and I wanna talk quickly about the Harvest House
Yes.
because that was a vision early on that was approved by the county. They needed to make sure that they had all the things that are coming off the farm available to not only to people who wanted to do a CSA box, but also if you just wanted to have something, stop by on a Saturday, for example, and purchase vegetables, right? So we came in and said, okay, let's figure out how to do this. Well, we started with a farmer's market 2 years before anything was built. Do you remember this, April?
They do.
So,
Yeah.
and we created such good vibes with those vendors, right? And the market is thriving today. I'm going to go back to my word thriving. That's going to be the theme for today. So it's thriving. And so what we did when the Harvest House came out, we said, hey, let's go back to our vendors who are at the market for us each month already. And let's get those local products into the Harvest House store. So people have access to those local goods throughout the week. They don't have to wait one time for the farmer's market.
The farmer's market. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So we've created these partnerships that are pretty amazing. And those partners, those vendors come in and they will, provide samples of the product. They'll do little programming events and things like that for us. If it is a farm jam night, they are going to the Harvest House team re-merchandises things, for example. So we want to have quick bites, right? Some prepared foods like charcuterie boards and those type of things. So it's just really taken a life of its own. And they're doing baking classes and or learning to decorate cake classes. They do art classes. We have the farm volunteer team now and a full farm team, but we have the volunteer team that comes in, the residents and the surrounding community volunteers on the farm. So it's just really taken a life of its own, growing every single day.
This episode is brought to you by Alisant, the leading resident experience platform for 100 plus master planned communities, elevating lifestyle throughout the entire homeowner journey. With an Alisant powered app, your community keeps residents and homebuyers informed, engaged, and connected.
So, April, this next clip that we're going to be going to is episode 44. And this one, again, was a really special podcast for us. We had a chance to sit down with John Darby, who is the CEO of the Beach Company. And he and his team are the masterminds behind Kiowa River. And, Kiowa River is this stunning property in the middle of Johns Island near Charleston, South Carolina. April, you've been there yourself.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And One of the things that John talks about in this clip is Kiowa River is smack dab in the middle of a very well established area with Kiowa Island and generations of farmers. And one of the things he really needed to think about early on is, how does Kiowa River differentiate themselves from the rest of the communities? And how do they really position themselves as a community that has always belonged? And I think that they have done just a spectacular job of that. And again, building upon what Monaca just spoke about in her clip, building early relationships with some of the farmers and the people that have been there for generations, and how they were able to take those relationships and make it into an agrihood, which they never thought that they would ever do. And it turned into some of their best lifestyle programming.
It's amazing. When you think about the beach company, they are celebrating their 80th year as a family-owned business. John's grandfather started this business, and they're now on their fifth generation ownership of this company. So they understand legacy, and they understand the real connection between the land and the historical value that it's contributed to the community. And I just love, to your point, how they preserved that, essentially built around it this amazing, amazing community called Kiowa River.
We purchased Kiowa River, and back then it was called Miller Hall, and it was a very popular place to go hunting and play with nature, beautiful oak trees and wildlife. And we bought it thinking that everything else that was happening on Johns Island, this land would appreciate faster than most. So fast forward about almost 20 years, we were thought it was time to entitle it and develop it. And it was the first development agreement ever done in Charleston County. And then we went through the Great Recession in the middle of all that. So we came out the other end and teamed up with a close family, friends that go back 80 plus years, the McNair family, and the two of us invested and developed the property. So you have Seabrook Island, Kiowa Island, all established, very successful communities. And so we're thinking, okay, well, what will Kiowa River be? We didn't have the ocean. We're surrounded by Gulf. And Diana Permar, who done some research for us over the years at Kiowa Island, I'll never forget meeting with her. And she said, you need to differentiate yourself from what's around you, Kiowa Island, Seabrook, and have your own identity. And we thought about that, and we said, she's right. Let's embrace the wildlife, the nature, make it very casual. But even though we were zoned to build a big hotel, we went with a boutique high-end hotel, no club, and so far it's been the right decision.
And April, for the last clip that we're going to go to, we're actually going to go a little bit outside the box on this one. This is going all the way back to episode 38, where we talked to Sarah Phelps. Now, Sarah is a little bit different than our other guests that we're on. She's actually the director of astronaut experiences at Blue Origin. But Sarah has a long, long history of working within the master plan community space as director of member experience at the Yellowstone Club in Big Sky, Montana. And so her point of view is really an interesting one. When she started at Blue Origin, they were there to create a space program to where they would bring real life consumers up to space. And she was tasked with building the experience from day one. So how do you build that when you have nothing in the middle of nowhere and everything that is surrounding you is, metal spaceships that bring objects up to space and not people? So she does a really great job, like the rest of our guests have done, about building a sense of belonging in the middle of Texas and going back to the history and the roots of that area. And the way that she talks about the attention to detail that she brings in and, how she brings in objects and builds them into every single thing that people look at on that experience is really, unprecedented. So I'm really excited for you all to revisit Sarah.
Sarah, if I could just add, did such a great job in that whole process of really understanding where the moments were for an emotional connection, both before you go up to space, when you come down, and certainly how to maintain that connection post launch. And it was really inspiring when you think about how powerful, when we think about placemaking and community and the whole experience of, buying a home and living in that home, to think about that whole journey. So I think this is a great one.
As I was designing the astronaut village, I wanted it to feel like it had been there forever, but the little touches of the village were really important to me as we were building it. So the astronauts stay in Airstreams. There's a long history between Airstream and NASA. And so, you're coming and you're staying in this Airstream, but it's an Airstream suite and it's an elevated Airstream. It has real amenities. It has a glass shower. It has a real toilet. It has a really nice bed. But as we looked at the different touches in there, for example, the bed, I needed the sleeping experience to be great. If you're going to go to space, I want you to get an amazing night's sleep prior. So we used frette linens. But when I picked out the frette linens, I picked out a specific pattern because that pattern mimicked the battery array on the vehicle. We did that on the linens, we did that on the towels, the books that are in the Airstream. They're all space related or science fiction, space adjacent. But everywhere I could, I sourced used books because I wanted those books to have had a life prior to arriving to the astronaut village, and so that there was history there. The same goes to then you go into, from your Airstream, you go down to the Carmen Line bar. The Carmen Line bar is built into the old stable, an old barn at the village. And I I found an old piano in a trailer park on the El Paso border that was just languishing, and I gave it this new life where it sits in this bar that feels like this bar has maybe been here forever. And all of the photos on the wall, it's a mixture of aerospace history, but also Blue Origin mixed in to make it feel like New Shepard has been part of the fabric and of space and aerospace and space travel for all time. And this bar has been there forever. The tiles that we picked mimic the inside of the vehicle. When you get a cocktail at the Carmen Line bar, you get it served on a coaster that matches our landing pad for the vehicle. And it's the exact Pantone color of our landing pad is matched on our coaster. And for me, those were the moments where I'm going back and forth to our operations and maintenance team and our New Shepard team to be like, where are the things that I can pull from to really connect this experience they're going to do with the village? And all of those they're behind the scenes. It's not something that we necessarily you're there as an astronaut, but it's all the different levels that we engage your senses when you get there so that you are just immersed in this magical experience.
April, well, it was so great to be on the podcast. I'm hoping that our listeners will hear and see more of me in the future. And, again, I just want to reiterate some of the things and the people that we saw today. They have experiences that they're creating every single day that doesn't really, some of them don't take a lot of money. It's just a lot of planning and a lot of thought, a lot of relationship building. And many of the things that we talked about today have nothing to do with necessarily the amenities or the design or the objects that are in those spaces, but it's really around the people and the lifestyle and, again, the emotions that you elicit within those spaces. So it aligns perfectly to what we do at Alzonge. And I'm just so proud that we were able to showcase them again.
Well, thanks again for everything that you've done. It's been a great 2025. Let's do it again next year. And we're going to see a lot more of Danette in the coming episodes.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me on again.